So welcome back to another episode, and welcome back to another Andrew. Not another Andrew, the Andrew that you all remember, the guy who grew up on the same street as me. We played all the same RPGs back in the golden days of the 90s and the late 80s.
That's true.
Which is absolutely crazy. It's been a few years.
Yeah, it has taken me a while to get back here, but I'm thrilled to be back, thrilled to be with you guys and back on the show.
Yeah, it's so cool. And we thought we'd do this introduction episode again to Andrew by talking about something that I did to Andrew, oh my god, nearly 29 years ago. And he still hasn't forgiven me, and I haven't forgiven myself for this. And it's quite a bit of a story going back into the past, going back into the 90s, because you moved onto my street in 1987
That's right.
With your brother, and we kind of hit it off as friends because we liked video games. Nintendo, Zelda, Mario, and then RPGs was our that was our jam. That was our major jam.
Absolutely.
And start playing all
our
of them.
teeth on the NES.
The NES was the big one, and then the Genesis was like Phantasy Star, and oh my, so we actually have a big episode coming up on Genesis RPGs. That's going to be up in the next. Oh, we're going to go crazy on that. So many stories, so much fun. But we have to start off that we had a great time hanging out, playing video games, and becoming friends over the years. And then something happened when I was 20 years old. Your family decided to make a big decision.
That's right. So I had graduated from high school, so it was time to think about university, and we decided to go to university in a different city. So we picked up and we moved away in summer of 1994.
Yeah, and that's to Calgary.
That's right.
You guys moved to Calgary, and then for me, it's upsetting because I only had you as a video game friend, pretty much. I knew some other people, but we were the ones hanging out on each other's couches, playing these games every single day.
And it was the same for me, too. You and I had that sort of, especially when it came to the RPGs, we had that rapport that we didn't have with anybody else.
With anybody else. Nobody could understand our absolute craziness for these things. Playing Govelius on the Master System, all that kinds of stuff. So I was really gutted that I was losing my friend. He was going away, and that was it. You know, I didn't know that we'd be hanging out 29 years later.
No,
I never thought that would... Could not have predicted that. And so, I remember you came over for like our final hangout, and I drove you back to I think you had the hotel before you went to the airport the next day to take off with your family. And I remember driving you out there, and I swear to God, I was driving back after dropping him off. He doesn't know this. I had a small tear, and I was like, this is the end of an era. And it really kind of hit me, and I went home and had a few beers and kind of reminisced that night and played some RPGs and stuff like that, and I was like, man, I'm really gonna miss this guy. And it's really cruddy. But I guess I was gonna get you back in another way, in some regard.
Yeah, you succeeded.
We're leading up to this big event here, so I did something stupid to myself at this point. Oh God, you guys know about it. I sold my entire video game collection that I had at that time to buy one particular thing, and I dug it up for this episode. Oh, we both know this so well.
It gives me the creeps.
Yes, the creeps. What a word to say about it. It's so funny. The Sega CD-X here, which at that time was such a cool system. You know, you had your Genesis games you could put in. You could even put a power-based converter on that.
Absolutely.
Play Master System games, and it had the Sega CD in here. Let me open this up. I haven't opened that up. This is my original one that I bought back then.
Now it's misery in a box.
It's misery in a box because I sold my entire collection to buy this one unit from Master Player. That was their name.
Okay.
And they're just like ringing my games through, like Space Megaforce, and oh my god.
Yeah, they were probably rubbing their hands thinking, we got a sucker today.
Yeah, and I still think I had to pay an extra like $100 or some ridiculous amount.
It was expensive.
It was really expensive. But I was doing it all for one particular game. Because we were such RPG fanatics back then, we still are to this day, I had to get Lunar, the Silver Star story. And I thought this was the perfect combination. Right here. This worked. This looked cool underneath the TV with this game. This was a really big anime style JRPG by Working Designs, which were pretty cool. Like, they were a really interesting company.
And Working Designs was sort of heroic to us because they were one of the only ones that we knew that were, porting the anime-style JRPGs into North America.
Yeah, doing their own kind of crazy translations and all of
good
that.
Translations. They did a really good job.
Yeah, there's a lot of mistranslation stuff in there. They took some liberties.
They had some fun with it, but
overall, we were happy to get it. Like, like back then, you were happy to have any RPG.
Absolutely.
But we live in a time now when there's way too many RPGs. Realistically, very spoiled.
Absolutely.
Now.
And there is not really anymore a huge division between countries where one country gets the stuff and the other countries don't. We just don't do that anymore. The market is global at this point.
Which, exactly. And so, okay, so I sold my whole collection. I got Lunar. I'm playing it. And people say on the show that, that I'm so enthusiastic about things. How was I back then, Andrew? Because I phoned you up.
Yeah, so obviously I wasn't there anymore when John came home with Lunar and the CDX, but he did call me up relatively soon after he got it, and he was just bubbling, ebullient about how great this thing was. It was the next generation, the first major RPG on a CD, the music, everything.
Well, compared to, we did have Ease, and I was saying it was up there with Ease and all that.
Right, but Ease still was graphically, it was not
pushing the boundaries.
Right, that's a great way to put it. It was not pushing the boundaries.
It was great when it came out.
Right, the way Lunar was on a 16-bit system.
Yeah.
With the CD audio, it was a beautiful game for the time.
Yeah.
As John understood it, and he made this very clear on the phone not long after I had moved into the new house, and yes, he was just super excited about the CDX and Lunar. And the great future potential of this particular platform. It's going to be the next big thing.
And unknowingly to me, I think because I'd gotten rid of all my collection, I bought this thing, I was trying to convince myself that I'd made the absolute right decision. And I think I really believed it. There's no doubt about it, I believed that I made the right decision. So I started talking to Andrew going, oh man, you should really sell your collection, buy this thing, buy Luna, you're going to have a great time, all of that. And we're talking on the phone, because that's what we were doing at that point.
Right.
And what was going through your mind? You're like, maybe I should do this?
Well, I mean, it seemed totally unreasonable to get rid of an entire collection, but here's someone that you've experienced RPGs with for years, someone who you trust implicitly when it comes to these sort of things, and when that person calls and tells you that, this is the next big thing, this platform is going to be huge, Working Designs is going to keep delivering, you really need to be a part of this. How do you argue against that, despite the fact that it's insanely expensive? You figure out, okay, well, if this is coming from Johnny, it must be true. So you start going through the mental calculus about, okay, how much does it cost? Where can I get one? What do I have to trade in?
Because we didn't have jobs back then, so it was about trading in. That's what we did.
Yeah.
All right. So you start doing the math on with all that, and you're like, can I do this?
Right. Yeah. And so I figured that with trade-ins, and obviously as Johnny said, he had to do a bunch of trading in himself. We could probably find some way to work this out.
Right.
So I found a video game shop in Calgary, and I went in and I looked and saw it behind the counter. I saw the price tag, although I don't remember what it was off the top of my head now.
It was expensive.
But it was a lot, and I had relatively little cash to apply to it, because again, we weren't working. So it pretty much came down to trading away stuff. NES stuff, Genesis stuff, whatever.
Oh, I feel so bad because you got rid of all your Genesis stuff, all the original stuff.
That was still good. To be fair, my dog chewed up most of it, so a lot of it was unsalvageable anyway.
Oh, yes, the Legend of Zeke, his old dog.
Bless his heart, but yeah, he did like to chew on the video game boxes.
Oh my god. So you said Ghostbusters he chewed.
Oh yeah, he did. He chewed Ghostbusters into oblivion. The game still played, but the box was mangled.
I'm so mad.
So I went back home and I looked at, okay, I've got these NES games, most of them in boxes, perfect condition with the manuals and all that, and some Super Nintendo stuff, the Genesis stuff I could salvage. And yeah, I basically boxed it up and brought it back to the video game store. And I put it on the counter and I told the guy I've got, okay, this much cash, and he and I sort of went through the box trying to find what's the least painful. Although it didn't really matter because I had to get rid of most of it just to be able to cover the cost of the CDX and Lunar, of course, because bringing the CDX home wouldn't have been any use. And then I finally got it all done. I got rid of my, Street Fighter 2, Super Nintendo, a lot of really good classic stuff. And then I brought it all home, and I was excited. I thought, oh man, I get to experience what John was going through. This is going to be epic. And you hook it up, you put it in, you turn it on. And the first thing I heard was the Lunar music, and Johnny's always been a bigger video game music guy than I have, but I was like, oh no, this is good stuff, I like this. And then I started the game, and I was not impressed. I was very disappointed. Yeah, and even to this day, I just, and it's not true. We look back on it, and I just have this memory of Lunar being very brown, and it isn't. It's beautiful. It's all beautiful colored.
Yeah.
But I just, maybe that's because my emotions are now tied into it. But I have a feeling of the game being so brown and gray. And I was really, really upset that I had just traded away so much stuff to get this game of the future, and it did not resonate with me at all.
That's great.
I knew within minutes that I had made a terrible mistake.
I kind of did the palette. I kind of understand. I'm actually looking at the back of the box here and all of that, but I'll show some footage, obviously, of the game. I think it looked really good, and I like the voice acting. I love the combat music. I like the combat. It was kind of like a Final Fantasy, but Lunar. You know, it's its own unique RPG on the Sega CD. I embraced it, and I still to this day really love the music for this game. Except, you know, the opening, biting in the darkness, all this evil. I know that's really cheesy stuff, but I mean, I still even like the character designs. But I still have a mental block. To me, this game is just radioactive. It's so is it because you were so mad? Did you really, like, was it really so underwhelming?
It's funny now that you're a parent. I wasn't mad, I was disappointed.
Okay.
And that's actually true in this case. I was really disappointed that it didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
It's not like I was, you know, crossing John's name off of any list I could find. It wasn't some sort of, you know, personal attack at that point. It was just this thing that I was able to get so excited about had basically flamed out.
Right.
And it held true for the whole short amount of time that I had a Sega CD. I don't know if, I think I bought maybe one other game.
Yeah, I got Popful Mail and a few other things I bought.
Yeah, Popful Mail was the only other one I got as well.
Right. And all of that. So, were you able to get your money's worth out of it?
Hell no.
Heck no, me either. I remember there was a couple of weird nights sitting in the darkness when I was just by myself before I even got Lunar, playing Sonic CD, and I'm like, this is a really weird time in gaming.
It was.
It's a really weird time in gaming when we were at this point. You know, just before the PS1 time and all of that was about to begin. But you know what? I have fond memories of it, but it was not worth my entire Super Nintendo, most of my Genesis collection. I still kept a lot of stuff that I really liked, but a lot of it was gone. Like Space Mega Force, I keep thinking about.
Yeah, definitely was not worth it for me, but...
I know, so we wanted to come in and tell this story, how I absolutely betrayed and screwed over Andrew nearly 29 years ago for a Sega CDX. And I still think it's a very compact, really cool little machine. It's all in one, but not worth the price of admission. I mean...
Not for me, it wasn't.
No, we should have just got a Sega CD add-on, throwing that on, and that should have done it.
That would have been a lot less painful in hindsight.
Yeah, for sure. And we won't even get into all the other things, like where people back then were talking about the TurboGrafx CD versus the Genesis CD. That's a whole other thing. We used to have arguments with a friend down the street.
Yep.
Our friend Dave.
Yep.
Oh my God, he just constantly arguing and all of that. But guys, have you ever made a mistake that big? Have you ever sold your entire collection? Have you ever recommended to a friend of yours buy a machine and they bought it and they hated it? We had it happen here 29 years ago. We got over it. We're still hanging out, which is a good thing. But it's one of those things I still feel bad about, and if I could change the past, I think I would a little bit. But at the same time, I did enjoy my experience with Lunar. I really did. I thought it was a really fun game and all of that, and completely memorable and lost in time now.
Absolutely.
There's no more Lunar. That's like a done deal.
And you've clearly been able to recover the collecting habit. So
most of the games I've been able to get back, except for Space Mega Force. That's way too expensive of a shooter to get back. So guys, let us know down below if you've ever made a mistake like that. So anyways, guys, until next time.